They stand at the gate with a check for $8 million in one hand and a phone in the other. Marcus Vell doesn't wave the check. He points it at the old man. Move your truck, now. Behind him, 3 black SUVs. A photographer from the county paper. A drone hovering over rows of grapevines that cost more than most people's houses. The old man doesn't move. His name is Walt Doran, 68 years old. Dust on his boots. He's standing on a strip of gravel road 12 feet wide that cuts straight through the middle of Vell's brand new vineyard. This road's mine, Walt says. Has been since before you bought this land. Vell's lawyer steps forward, tablet in hand. We have the deed. We have the survey. You have nothing. Walt just crosses his arms. Somewhere behind the vines, a generator kicks on. A crew of workers wait by a flatbed truck loaded with irrigation pipe, engines idling, waiting on a word from Vell to roll through. Vell's phone buzzes in his pocket. Buzzes again. He doesn't look at it. 48 hours, Vell says. Then I bring the county out here and we settle this the hard way. 3 years earlier, Walt Doran owns 40 acres at the base of a dry hill. Alfalfa mostly. A few cattle. Land his father worked and his father before that. Next door, Marcus Vell buys 300 acres for $11 million. Within a year, there's a tasting room. Within 2, there's a fountain shaped like a wine barrel at the front gate. Same sky, same drought. One side dead, one side soaked. Walt's alfalfa yellows in July. Vell's vines stay green, drip lines ticking day and night. Walt doesn't say much about it. He just keeps driving his old flatbed truck down the gravel road. The one road that connects his back 40 to the county highway. The one that happens to run straight through what is now Vell's front lawn. One afternoon, Vell's foreman flags him down. You can't keep driving through here, the foreman says. Mr. Vell wants this road gone. Grass instead. Looks bad for the tasting room. Walt says nothing. Keeps driving. A week later, a sign goes up. Private property. No trespassing. Right across the gravel. Walt still drives through it. Vell himself comes out one morning, sunglasses on, phone in hand. You're an easy problem to solve, old man, Vell says, laughing to his assistant. Guys like you always fold once the lawyers show up. Walt keeps driving. Doesn't answer. Doesn't slow down. But that night he goes looking. Not for a fight. For proof. He remembers his father talking about the road. Says it was older than the property lines themselves. Walt starts digging through the metal box in his barn. The one with the rusted hinge full of his father's old papers. Nothing there. So he goes further back, out to the edge of the road itself, where a fence post has sagged sideways for 40 years. He kneels down, brushes away dirt with his hand, an iron pin, rusted almost black. Stamped letters, worn but legible. County Road Survey, 1861. 20 feet away, buried under a patch of Vell's new sod, there's a second pin. Same shape. Same stamp. Someone mowed right over it and never noticed. Old iron, old stamp. Old road. Walt doesn't say a word to anyone. He photographs both pins. Marks the distance between them with a tape measure. 12 feet. Exactly the width of the gravel road he's been driving his whole life. Vell finds out anyway. His foreman spots Walt out there with a camera. Vell drives over himself, this time without the sunglasses. That's an old fence marker, Vell says. Means nothing. This is my land all the way to the highway. You want to keep pushing this, I'll have my lawyers bury you in paper before Christmas. Walt just nods. All right. He drives 31 miles to the county surveyor's office. A woman named Etta Kowalski runs the archive, has for 22 years. Gray hair, reading glasses on a chain, filing cabinets older than Walt himself. County road markers from 1861, Walt says. Is there a record? Etta doesn't even blink. There's always a record. Question is whether anyone's opened the box. She pulls a ledger, thick and cracked at the spine. Pages of handwritten entries. She runs her finger down a column, stops. Road easement, 12 feet wide, granted permanently to serve the Doran parcel, she reads. Never revoked. Never repurchased. It's still active. Walt feels his chest loosen for the first time in weeks, but 2 days later, the county sends an inspector out for an official review, the kind triggered whenever a landowner disputes a boundary. The inspector walks the property with a handheld GPS unit. New equipment, calibrated that same morning. His device shows the property line running straight through where Walt's road used to be. No easement flagged. No historical marker in the digital record. According to this, the inspector says the road doesn't exist. Not on paper, not on the system. Vel's lawyer smiles for the first time all week. Walt goes home that night and doesn't sleep. He's got a bank notice sitting on his kitchen table. 90 days to catch up on a loan against his own equipment. A loan he was counting on refinancing once this road issue settled, and his access to the highway was secured again for hauling. 90 days. Suddenly it feels like 9. He sits with the inspector's report at 2 in the morning. Can't stop staring at the GPS printout. Something about it nags at him. The property line on the screen is a perfect clean arc. Too clean. The old road he's walked his whole life curves twice around a dry creek bed. This line doesn't. He calls his daughter, Renee, a paralegal 2 hours away. She drives out the next morning. GPS systems don't invent curves, Renee says, staring at the printout. They record what's there. If this line is straight and the real road isn't, somebody built this file off an assumption, not a survey. She starts pulling records. Permit history for the Vineyard. Every filing from the last 3 years. Layer 1, a technical exception, buried on page 14 of Vel's original construction permit. It requires no obstruction of pre-existing right-of-way access without county sign-off. Nobody flagged it because nobody read past page 10. Layer 2, the loophole. Vel's engineers filed for a minor grading adjustment 18 months earlier, technically legal, that shifted 40 yards of topsoil over the exact stretch where the road used to run. Buried the second survey pin without ever mentioning the road in the paperwork. Layer 3, the one that can't be argued with. A stamped delivery log from the irrigation contractor, dated 14 months back, listing access via existing gravel road, Doran easement, as the route their trucks used to bring in pipe. Vel's own crew documented using the road in writing, months after claiming it didn't exist. Renee lays all 3 documents on Etta's desk. Etta reads through them slowly, the way she reads everything. Then she picks up the phone and calls the county attorney directly. This isn't a boundary dispute, she says. This is a documented easement that someone tried to erase with a bulldozer. Vel's lawyer is called in for a final hearing. He tries one more angle, arguing the delivery log is a clerical error, a driver using outdated terminology. Etta slides the 1861 ledger across the table. Your own drivers called it what it's always been called. That's not an error. That's a habit built on truth. The lawyer has nothing else. 3 weeks later, the county orders the road reopened. Vel's crew has to bring in an excavator, right past the tasting room, right past the fountain, and tear out 40 yards of sod and irrigation line his own foreman installed over the buried pin. A dozen people watch from the tasting room patio, wine glasses in hand. Vel stands off to the side, arms crossed, saying nothing as the machine claws up the sod, exposing rusted iron in front of everyone. Old pipe, new concrete, fresh gravel, laid right back over the same 12 feet it always covered. Walt doesn't gloat. He stands at the fence line watching. In the end, Walt doesn't take the county to court for damages. He settles for a simple deal drawn up by Etta's office. Vel pays for the restored gravel road, plus $4,000 a year for road maintenance for as long as either property exists. Walt still drives his flatbed through the Vineyard every week. Vel's guests occasionally stop their tastings to watch him pass. Some men build fountains and call it legacy. Some men just keep a rusted iron pin in a coffee can on their kitchen windowsill and wait. Would you have taken the $8 million buyout, or would you have waited for the ground to prove you right?